Emma Stone back from the dead? Heck yeah! Plus 4 other picks that will rise to the occasion. Along with a black comedy where Stone is basically playing Frankenstein's monster, we've got an anime fantasy flick, Julia Roberts facing an apocalypse, the return and once again the exit of the popular character Monk, and a psychological thriller with Anne Hathaway. It's all coming up on this week's What to Watch, sponsored by Poor Things.
This is Bella. Bella, this is Mr. McCandles.
Hello, Bella.
First up and hitting theaters is the black comedy Poor Things. FYI, the QR code to get your tickets for this one is up already. That's how confident I am in these 3 reasons to check it out. Starting with that stellar cast. With Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe leading the way, it also features names like Mark Ruffalo, Rami Youssef, and Gerard Carmichael. Reason 2 is the fun and interesting premise. Based on the 1992 novel of the same name by Alasdair Gray, it follows a young Victorian woman who is resurrected by a scientist. Then she runs off with a corrupt lawyer to really find herself. The third reason is that the Yorgos Lanthimos directed Poor Things is already rich with praise from critics. After premiering at the Venice Film Festival in September and earning the festival's highest honor, critics are calling this very fresh film wildly imaginative and exhilaratingly over the top, and a bizarre, brilliant tour de force for its director and star. Now you know why that QR code is so handy for you. Dramatic pause. Moving on.
Your mother, she's awaiting your rescue. I'll be your guide.
Also hitting theaters this week is the Japanese animated fantasy film The Boy and the Heron. Reason 1 to immerse yourself into this fantastical world, complete with a talking gray heron of course, is that it was written and directed by the famous Hayao Miyazaki, a co-founder of Studio Ghibli and one of the most accomplished filmmakers in the history of animation. You heard that right. And speaking of Studio Ghibli, which is behind The Boy and the Heron, it is responsible for 5 of the 10 highest grossing anime films in the history of Japan, including the Oscar-winning film Spirited Away. They know what's up, in other words. The third reason to give this one a shot is the star-studded English-speaking voice cast that has stepped into these roles for its release over here. That includes 2 Batmen, Robert Pattinson and Christian Bale, Gemma Chan, Dave Bautista, Florence Pugh, Mark Hamill, and the list goes on. Seriously.
I'm so sorry to bother you, that this is our house.
This is your house?
Arriving on Netflix this week is the apocalyptic thriller Leave the World Behind. And if reason 1 to see this was only one word, it would be Julia. But thankfully, I can expand a bit. And by that, I mean star and producer Julia Roberts, who's joined by folks like Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, and Kevin Bacon. Another reason not to leave the world behind, trust me, it tracks, is the creepy and intriguing premise about a family in a luxurious vacation home who is visited by 2 strangers in the night with news of impending doom. And this looming disaster gets more terrifying by the minute as they all endure it together. A third reason is that the film was written and directed by Sam Esmail, probably best known as the creator of Mr. Robot. Enough said. But just for good measure, he also worked on the Prime series Homecoming with, wait for it, Julia Roberts.
Adrian Monk. For a while there, you were solving a major case every week.
I couldn't have done it alone. I could have, but it would have taken longer.
Landing on Peacock this week is Mr. Monk's Last Case, a Monk movie. Of course, the first reason to tune into this one is that he's back. Tony Shalhoub's Monk was last seen delighting audiences on the USA Network back in 2009, some 14 years ago. Good lord. And speaking of which, another reason to check out this movie is that the show was a massive hit. With an overall fresh tomato meter score in the low 90s, Monk won 8 Emmys over 8 seasons and set the record for the most watched scripted drama episode on cable in 2009 until The Walking Dead surpassed it 3 years later. Gosh darn it, Walking Dead. The third reason to get into Mr. Monk's Last Case is all the familiar faces in front of the camera, like, of course, Shalhoub, Melora Hardin, Ted Levine, and Hector Elizondo, along with longtime show director Randy Zisk, who is also helming the movie. Aw, reunion.
Good afternoon, Eileen.
How's your day, Dad?
It was a day, just another day.
My day was a doozy.
Also creeping into theaters this week is the psychological thriller Eileen. The film stars Thomasin McKenzie along with names like Anne Hathaway, heard of her, and the always great Shea Wingham. They help tell this story set in 1960s Boston about an unhealthy friendship between two women working at a juvenile detention center. There's reason 1 and 1A to try this one out. Reason 2 is that it's based on the award-winning debut novel of the same name by Otessa Moshfegh, who also adapted the screenplay with her husband. Impressive. And reason 3 is that after premiering at Sundance earlier this year, it's already fresh on the tomato meter with a critics' consensus that calls Hathaway and McKenzie a well-matched duo. We did it! 5 solid picks to keep your viewing schedule fluid. And don't forget, you can get your tickets literally right now to Poor Things. Peep the QR code here to make it easy. And the future you will be thanking the present you, guaranteed. Oh, and one last thing. Before we fly out of here, we want to let you know that tickets are officially on sale for the upcoming animated adventure comedy, Migration. And you know we've got a handy QR code for you. Boom! Get them now, be entertained later. It's so simple, and that's the kind of thing you can apply elsewhere in life too. Like your next meal at Jersey Mike's, for instance. Order ahead, be satisfied later. Even our boy Uncle Dan approves, and that's not always easy. Remember to check out RottenTomatoes.com for the latest updates on scores and reviews for everything mentioned, as well as the movie and TV world at large. That is all for today, Fresh Family. Until next week, stay fresh.